lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
It's lights out and away we go. It's a great start from Sebastian Vettel. Wink up up the inside. McLaughlin gets it to They run, but the Red Bull Racing man has got through. The champion's done the job. They're all gone. They're all gone. Tander's off. McLaughlin's off. Make room. Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup championship.
Hello and welcome everybody. We bring you to Adelaide here for round 3 of the Automobilista Australia GT3 series, brought to you in conjunction with Short Shift Podcast and your ARW commentary team. My name's Nether. I'm joined in the commentary box today by Bagsy. So good evening to you, Bagsy.
Hi Nether, how you doing?
Good, thank you. And from AMS Australia, Matt Williams. Hello there, Matt.
Hello Nether, thanks for having me back.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. So, as we said, we're here in Adelaide. It's the 3rd round out of 10 for the GT3 Championship for AMS Oz. There is your calendar there, 3rd one from the top. Adelaide, and some rather nice circuits coming up in the next couple of weeks as well there, with Magny-Cours and Suzuka and Sebring. Some very, very nice circuits we'll be looking forward to in the recent, in the near future, I should say. We're just at the back end of the practice session here. The man at the top at the moment is Lewis Wedding. As Brock Harvey pointed out, it's sort of a contest at the minute as to who has the biggest testes with low fuel and brand new tyres, and probably an opportunistic time for us to have a look at the point standings after the first 2 rounds. So Matt, how about you give us a quick rundown of where everybody sits after the first 2 rounds of GT3 competition?
Alright, Jamie Snow, who can't be with us tonight, is on top with 30 points. We've got Baker in 2nd place on 28 points. Brock Harvey just behind him on 26. A little way back is Heath Dixon on 20 points. He's followed by Greg Mangle on 17. Aaron Thomas and Johnny are tied for 6th place on 16 points apiece, with Dwayne Davies and Corey Ott 15 apiece behind them, and Stairs in 10th place on 11 points.
Thank you very much for the rundown there, Matt. So as we flick back across to our live shot just above the final hairpin here in Adelaide, the time has expired on the practice session, and we wait with bated breath to see who can sit on the pole position for the upcoming 80-minute race tonight. It was a 75-minute race the last time out. It's been upped by 5 minutes to 80 minutes. And we've just rolled into the qualifying session here. So, gentlemen, the men at the top of the tree after pre-practice was Corey Ott and Lewis Wedding. They only separated by just short of 0.2 of a second. Do you think they're going to have a hard time being caught by the rest of the field? Do you think they're just going to walk away into the distance, or would just bring a surprise somewhere in the pack tonight?
It was interesting to see Corey Ott put in he topped the session in the very last dying seconds with a lap that came in to beat even Wedding's time of a 1:16.8. Corey Ott got a 1:16.6, which is the fastest lap we've seen so far by a decent margin. It's put him 0.2 of a second ahead of Wedding, who's the hot favourite coming in this race. He basically came into the server and his first lap was about 0.4 faster than the next best person. I presume he's been practicing outside of the server, but it'll probably dishearten some of the people further down who might not be able to get to practice as much.
Well, he certainly is a man who has some good form, and he'll be expecting to carry on that form here. It's actually his first, hard to believe, it's actually his first round in the GT3s this round. He hasn't scored in the previous 2 rounds, having not attended, but he is the red-hot favourite to top the podium in tonight's race. Now, I'm going to apologise to all the viewers in advance. I have been recovering from a little bit of a cold and may need to take a short break every now and again just to clear my throat. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. Something similar going on with the likes of Brian Walsh and Jamie Snow, who unfortunately can't be with us tonight. But hi gents, I'm sure you're watching the stream. I'm sure you'll watch, Jamie's I'm sure wondering who is going to erode into his lead at the top of the point standings. We hope it's not by too much, but we very well could end up with somebody else at the top of the timesheet or the top of the standings after tonight's race. Just got Baker on screen here. He's the first man out of the pit lane, and the first man will come around and set a competitive time. Sorry, throwing over to you again, Bagsy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who can capitalise on Snow not being here, because it's 20 points for a win, and that's a significant amount when it comes to, it's only a 2-point gap at the top. So, yeah, that's more than 50% of the points that Snow has from his one win. I believe it was a 6th place as the other one he has. So, missing a race can do a lot of damage in this series.
Well, we did see that at Imola 2 weeks ago, where Heath Dixon was the man who came into that, having won the first round at Bathurst, and didn't even take part in race number 2. Some technical issues there, and cost him a bag of points, and he went from first in the standings to 4th very, very quickly. So Baker's just on the run down here to turn number 8, the infamous turn number 8. Claimed so many victims over the course of its career in all forms of motorsport. And
it's a very different turn 8 in the V8 supercars. Apparently, according to Snares, it's taken flat in these GT3 cars, so you have to get the line exactly right, and if you don't do that, you're going to have a greeting, you're going to be greeting the wall, and it will not enjoy seeing you. You'll be damaged and potentially out of the race, because we do run 100% damage here. As we see Baker running wide in the final hairpin. Yeah,
just a little lock up and getting on the marbles and going a little bit wide, but it's an early banker lap and it's a 19.1, so we have seen faster than that in free practice, but this will be where the money is earned and he'll press on. We have a look back through the rest of the field. Here's Corey Ott just rolling out of the pit lane. He's waited his time and will now move onto the racing line. Hopefully do so cleanly. Just finds a nice gap.
And I'm just watching Lewis Wedding here, who started his first flying lap.
Alright, so let's see if we can cut to Lewis Wedding and see what he's up to. He's somewhere on the field, sorry. We're cycling through everybody. There he is. Apologies to all the viewers as we had to cycle through just about all entire field to find poor Lewis. And that bright pink Lamborghini.
It'll be an interesting situation for Jamie watching this, because Lewis hasn't competed in this series yet. So in a way, if he wins, it's damage limitation for Jamie, who can't be here, but it's also going to be his strongest competition going forward. So it's sort of a double-edged sword in that sense.
It sure will be. Well, and this, as we said before, if it's anybody that's probably going to throw down the gauntlet and stake his claim for the remainder of the series, it's this man here, Lewis Wedding. Now, coming around the final hairpin. Got the headlights on. Now, we spoke about this in the last round of the GT3s, that if you've got your headlights on, you're on a fast lap, and it's a signal to all the other competitors that you are going very, very fast, and please get out of my way if you're not on a hot lap. I don't want to trip over you and go into a wall or have to go down to an escape road. Aaron Thomas is the man who's gone to the top at the moment with an 18.1, so still not anywhere near the times we saw toward the end of free practice 1. But getting closer.
Looks like Lewis had an off during his first flying lap, so he'll be hoping to do better on this one.
He's also catching up to some traffic that is much slower than him. We've got Voda just ahead and one other car, I believe. It's the problem Wedding's going to have is, because it's such a small track, no matter how big a gap he gives, he's going to be coming up on other people, and he's right behind Voda in turn 8, and Voda just gets out of the way. It's very close there.
Gets out of the way, and that's traffic's going to be at a premium in some of these locations, and timing your run. We speak about it a lot. Timing your run, finding the gap that you need. And actual fact, he's lost quite a lot of time there. He was 3/10 up in Sector 1, and he's now 4/10 down on time in Sector 2. So he did have a little bit of a slide across the crown of the curve on the exit, on the run to turn 7. And this will be a time that's probably not as good as what his last one was, but he'll have to press on and see how he goes. They've only got 15 minutes to set qualifying times. Stairs has now jumped to the top. The local hero from Adelaide has now gone to the top with a 17.9, so first man into the 17s in this particular session, and
That's a full second faster than his best practice lap. So he may have been sandbagging just slightly in that practice session, and has definitely very Mercedes-like dropped those sandbags and taken off to the provisional pole position.
Corey's just head out for another run. He hasn't actually set a time yet. He's done 4 laps so far without a time, so he'll be hoping to find some space.
Four people yet to set a time: Corey Ott, Brock Harvey, Rob Dunt, who is a newcomer, and David Keane.
So with Brock Harvey, we've seen a couple people have already been tripping over traffic, with both Brock Harvey and Brendan Ross already having to apologise to people for ruining their laps. So hopefully we get a bit more clear space out there towards the end of the session when everyone's set their bank times and isn't rushing to get out there.
There's a little bit of damage that Aaron Thomas has just collected on the run down into turn number 6.
Sorry to cut across you, but I think Wedding is about to go to the top here. He's at 2 purple sectors, and he has gone to the top. He's 2/10 up on Alistair.
He's a mile clear at the top in terms of time, so 2/10. Where is he? There he is. He's actually just retired back to the garage. So his time is a 17 flat, almost a 17.1 actually. So we're getting ever close to the 16s, and we did see some 16s in free practice. This was one of the men who set 16. It was Greg Turra. Him and Corey Ott were the 2 men to dive under the 16s. Greg's second at the minute, 3/10 off his PB, and we're just running over the exit there of turn 7, which is a line that some of the drivers opt to take, just to try and carry as much speed as they possibly can. Now turn 8.
I think in the race we'll most likely have the people who are most likely to challenge Wedding are Turra, Ott and Nangle. Nangle we saw in the Formula 3 race last weekend. In race 1 he was right behind Lewis the whole way, so he'll be hoping to do that again and hopefully find his way through this time.
We've just been watching Turra, and he's backed out of this. He's some considerable distance off what time he should be setting after Sector 1, and after Sector 2 was worse. So he's going to gear himself up for another crack here and see what he can do.
It's a short lap here, so if they do have to sacrifice a lap, there's plenty of time to get back around. It's over 6.5 minutes to go, so plenty of time for everyone to get around and get a lap.
Sorry, viewers, just a little bit.
Given up on his lap.
He's given up on his lap there, and we had a little bit of server lag there for the viewing public. I do apologise. That's a little bit out of our control.
We've just had Johnny rock up very late.
Well, Johnny is one of the men that we spoke about before. He's equal 6th in the points with Aaron Thomas at the moment with 16 points. So we've actually got the most cars we've had in any one server for any race we've had so far, with a total of 22 with Johnny, the late arrival. And he'll have to get a wriggle on because there's only 6 minutes left in this session. He'll have to get out onto track very quickly.
Just looking at some of the times further down the field, we've had one of the newcomers to AMS Oz, Rob Dunt, in the guest Ferrari car, is in 14th at the moment, which is very good for his first outing. So a couple other newcomers, Simmons and Ross, also newcomers, Brendan Ross that is, who is currently in 16th, and Brendan Simmons. It's going to be interesting getting those names right. Right behind him in 16th. They're actually very closely matched, the newcomers, both in Ferraris, so they know what they like. And I believe the other newcomer to this series, but not to AMS Oz, is Brett Limmer, who's currently in 12th. He's raced in the Super Series at Simmons Plains, I believe. I'm not sure of his result on that one, but yeah, he's here for the GT3 series now as well.
Well, we're just watching Lewis Wedding on screen. He was 7 thousandths up at the Sector 2 split, so look on track to be a little bit quicker, marginally quicker if he can keep this together. As Corey Ott just jumps up into the 4th position there, and Wedding just lost a little bit in that last sector. Aaron Thomas behind him, you can see he's got the headlights on, and also going for another flying lap. There's Turra at turn 8, so he's continuing to press, but this is an out lap for him, so probably another 2 or 3 laps that he might be able to put together until the end of this session.
One of the nice things with the GT3 cars, I've only done a few laps during practice just to see what the guys are dealing with out there, but their tyres are warm when they leave the pits, unlike in supercars and Formula 3 when you go out and they're at just air temperature. It's a lot easier to get out there and set yourself up for a quick flying lap straight away.
Yeah. Well, here's Heath Dixon on screen. He was the man who won the first round at Bathurst and didn't start the last round. He actually had some technical issues, but he needs to make amends for some points. He's been put into the Pro A class. Oh, as he gets very taily on the exit of turn number 5 there, and that will force him to go back to the garage, and he'll have to have another crack. He was on the clock there and just getting a little bit too trigger happy with the right foot. Oh, we just saw someone back there brush the wall on the exit of turn number 8. Just trying to get a handle on who that may have been. It was one of the Ferraris. We're watching.
Was it Limmer?
May have been Brett Limmer. Was definitely one of the Ferraris.
He's going through 9 now, and he's in a bright red Ferrari, so it could have been him.
Well,
he's now off the track at turn 10.
Well, we're going to go on board with Greg Nangle here. He's a bit further down the order than he'd like, and we'll get a run through here. So here's the centre chicane, turns 1 and 2, and turn 3 onto Wakefield Road. And this is Wakefield Corner, right-hander 90 degrees. Up East Terrace. And then swing left into Flinders Street. Swinging right into Hutt Street. Use a bit of the curb. And then a right turn here onto Bartles Road. And now the run down to turn number 8. And you can hear him, he did hold it flat through turn 8. And now Bagsy will correct my pronunciation if I get it wrong here, but it's the Decaturville hairpin, turn number 9.
That's close enough.
Close enough, thank you. And now around the left-handers near the racecourse. Again, it's a little bit of frame lag from our broadcast host. And now through turn 13 and now down to what was in the Formula 1 days called the Foster's hairpin. I think people just call it a hairpin. For some reason it's officially called the Mistral hairpin. That is the last turn, turn 14. And Angle goes up. That's a very, very quick lap up to P2, 3/10 off the top.
It was an excellent lap there from Nangle. He'll be very happy with that. He's gone up 6 positions from that, so that's quite good. It looks like Wedding is in the pits now. He's along with several others, but of the top 13, Wedding's the only one in the pits. So I think he might be confident with that time because there's no time to get out now. Just set a lap.
No, certainly not. Time is of the essence. If you're not on track now setting a lap, you are not going to get another one in, and the back half of the field from 14th down is pretty much in the pits, and we've actually lost 2 of our runners. So we're down to 20 drivers, but hopefully they'll be able to get back in. This man was lighting up the sector at times in Sector 1. It was Aaron Thomas, and looking to improve, but couldn't quite make it happen, so stays 4th, but he's going to get one more opportunity, and he presses on. Lewis Wedding is at the top with a 17.0.
Intent sitting in the pits for the remainder of the session. Obviously very confident no one's beating his time.
Well, we have seen this before where they'll sit up in the pits and then they'll miss their opportunity and they'll be pipped at the post at the very last minute. So,
sorry, just Corey Ott is currently on a very fast lap. He's 2/10 up on Wedding's time at the moment. Wedding may be regretting not coming out for that final lap because Corey Ott is coming around the final corner now.
Well, here he is on screen.
If he's been able to get the time, he runs straight for the line.
Aston Martin, he does it.
He has gone top.
A 1/10 of a second. So,
and Greg Turris jumped up to 3rd as well.
Turris was originally 2nd, but has now up to 3rd.
That was Nangle he jumped ahead of to get into 3rd. He was 2nd before Ott set his time.
Well, we spoke about it, and it actually happened. So, what do we call that, boys? We call that putting the commentator's curse on somebody, don't we? Yeah, Corey Ott will be super stoked with that.
Stairs is unhappy with Luke at the moment, who has obviously got in his way on his flying lap.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen that happen.
There's in 6th place, so it's still not a disaster.
Definitely not a disaster for him, so it's still a very well-respected time. There's only a couple of drivers left on track. It's Tara and Harvey are the only ones. Actually, Aaron Thomas has just jumped up into the 3rd place. We've just missed that, so he's gone past Tara and Nangle. So Aaron Thomas in that BMW getting up into 3rd place.
Johnny won't be happy starting in last place without being able to get a lap in.
No, well, Johnny hasn't set a time, so he is consigned to the last position, and he'll be starting the rear alongside Voda at this stage. Tara manages to jump up to 3rd, actually. Very late move for Greg Tara, so he takes back 3rd position from our screens there.
He's
Not
very
by
lucky
much.
for Wedding. He could have lost more than just the position he got, because he was only a 10th ahead of Thomas and half a 10th ahead of Tara, which could have been very bad for him.
It could have been an absolute disaster, but he still starts on the front row as we now head into the warm-up session. So, gentlemen, do you still think Ott and Wedding are the ones to beat? They ended that session at the top. Ott was the only man to dip into the 16s. Granted, it was a low-fuel run. Do you see any other potential people in the pack that may be able to challenge? We were talking Tara maybe, and Nangle maybe. Aaron Thomas up there in 4th place. Perhaps he's got a shot.
I think the entire top 5 of the field has a very strong chance here, with it being such a long race, and strategy will come into it. I wouldn't be willing to place a bet between them, but I'd be happy to put money on the entire top 5 that one of them will take the win.
I've got to agree. Any of the top 5 can potentially take it. It will depend on race pace as well. Who can conserve their tyres the best? The strategy as well.
In the tyres aspect, I'd have to go with Greg Nangle. He's a very, very smooth and very consistent driver, whereas the other guys do tend to be a lot more aggressive than him.
Looking down the field as well, we've spoken in other series about Baker being a very consistent driver, and so if the people in the front make mistakes and Baker does not, then Baker, I would say, is a dark horse in this pack where he could potentially get a win. It's a small chance, but I think he can get a win. And
if there is an incident, he would be my bet to capitalise on it.
We've also got the pole sitter who's joined us here in the booth, Corey Ott. Corey, you did it in practice. You got the top time right at the death, and you've done it again here. How'd that lap feel?
Oh, to be honest with you guys, the car felt on full fuel. Like, the car feels amazing, but just a couple of setup tweaks, and it felt okay. And then took the fuel out of it, and it just felt so bad. And I was actually pretty lucky to get that time. The car was all damaged up from the first 2 laps I had, and I was pretty lucky to get that time. So hopefully in the race I just storm away from Lewis and get the win.
Would you say that the only reason you've got pole is because Wedding had some issues with traffic, or do you think you do have the pace on him?
Well, luckily enough for me, I got the traffic. I dealt with the traffic right, but if he didn't, well, yeah, but it all depends on the race. It's a very tight circuit. All the overtaking opportunities are really a balls move if you want to do it, so it's all about him and me seeing how close we want to race. So.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for jumping in and giving us a quick chat in the box, Corey. Good luck for the race, and hopefully you can do well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, Nello, we've heard from Matt, you've heard from me. Who's your pick for the race?
Well, I'm going to go with the local boy. I'm going to go with Stairs. He had a good run in the last round at Imola, despite the fact that he did end up with a speeding penalty and have to have a late stop, which took him pretty much out of the top contention, but he was very consistent, and we've seen from his ARW experience that he's not one of the slow coaches. He's definitely going to be right up there. So I'm going for Stairs as a wild card in this pack. I would imagine that some sort of incident's going to happen out the front, or if we get a couple of full course cautions, I put him in the same vein as Baker. He'll be right up there. They'll be looking to take advantage of any small changes as a result of any incidents that may occur.
So the good thing about GT3 racing is that really anything can happen, even though we do have the class differences. We've got all classes in this race, from anyone from unranked, because we do have Stairs as an unranked driver, but he's up there in 6th position. We've got anyone from GTA, GTB, or the amateur or unranked could potentially win this race, just because there's all those different things that can happen.
Strategy is going to be very much key in this race. On such a short lap as well, any time you can make up is incredibly valuable.
Do you have the numbers on the average pit stop times at all, Matt? I'm not sure if you grabbed those or not.
I haven't actually checked them. I meant to when I was doing runs during the week.
Well, what will be interesting to note here, gentlemen, though, is the pit lane exit is pretty much a direct merge onto the racing line. So there is going to have to be some form of communication between all the drivers coming out. We don't want any accidents there, but potentially it could get nasty if the guys don't talk to each other.
From memory, Bagsy, it was about 25 to 30 seconds, I think, the pit times at Imola.
There you go. So I mean, that's half a lap here almost. And
well, that's just the stop. That's just the stationary time alone, too, Bagsy.
Yeah,
that doesn't factor in any of the transit time either. So when you're talking transit time, you're going to lose at least another 15 to 20. So you do run the risk of going a lap down if it's a very, very poor in lap, out lap, or a poor stop, or having to repair damage as well. So.
And if you get the penalty as well, but if you release the limiter too early or get on the limiter too late and get done for speeding in the pit lane.
Well, haven't we seen that a few times before as well? It seems to be a regular occurrence, and you would thought that people start to learn their lesson, but they don't.
Between the stop and taking the penalty, you're losing more than a lap on this track. It's going through the pit lane twice, so they'll definitely have to be on their game with that one.
Time has expired on the practice session now, the warm-up session, sorry. So we'll be heading to the race very soon.
Yep, well, our cameras are just positioned at the end of the pit straight, just at turn number 1. We've sat there for most of the warm-up session and watch everybody come through. As the clock comes up, there it is, top left-hand corner, 1 hour and 20 minutes. So 80 minutes all up. And we wait for our cars to grid up to take this race.
Rolling start here, which is always interesting because we don't do that for any other series.
It's a formation lap behind the pace car and a rolling start. Now, we have seen at the last round at Imola that there was quite a number of penalties handed out for overtaking before the control line. So even on some of the safety car restarts, they cannot overtake before the control line, otherwise they will have to serve a drive-through penalty.
My estimate for safety car likelihood on this track is about 95% likely.
It's a very high probability even in the supercar series, so I would tend to agree that it's more than likely going to be a very, very high probability. Well, the safety car...
If you don't take one after the first corner, if I'm honest with you, with the tightness of the chicane, and they already get speed when they get there.
Well, the safety car's leading the field away, so Bagsy, how about you take us through the order?
Alright, in first position we have Corey Ott, who came through right at the end of the qualifying session to set that wonderful time. Second place is Lewis Wedding, who many tipped for pole and was probably, or is probably, the fastest out here. But a bit of traffic on his laps caused him to have some issues. Third is Greg Tara. He'll be hoping for a good result to strengthen his position near the top of the championship. Aaron Thomas in fourth. He's also one of the favourites for a win today. If he can get a couple of places on the start, he'll be very happy. Greg Nangle, he's had a good qualifying session as well. He's one of the people we expected to be up the front, and he's qualified quite excellently. Stairs, he is an unranked driver in the Audi, but he's an excellent driver and has a chance for a win if things go his way. We've got Baker here in the Mercedes, the yellow Mercedes. He will be another one to look for. He's a very consistent driver. He might be able to make his way to the front. In eighth, we have Brock Harvey in the Aston Martin. Oh, sorry, it's just in the background, a couple of people may have hit the wall in the formation lap, which isn't ideal. Matt Schwass is in 9th. 10th is Philip Boak in the BMW. 11th, Dwayne Davies. Heath Dixon, the championship leader, is in 12th. Dunt, one of our newcomers in the Ferrari. 14th is Brenton Foley. 15th, David Keane. 16th, another newcomer in Brett Limmer. 17th, Brendan Ross. 19th, Brendan Simons. And that's the rest of our newcomers done.
Greg Nangle's just been handed a penalty, so he's been handed a 10-second stop-go penalty. The green flag has been shown, and away we go. So that was a very quick lap from the safety car. We weren't expecting that, and very little chance for the guys to get side by side. But Corey Ott leads them away, and he's got the hammer down early and stretching away to a half a second gap, as it's all rank and file, single file behind him. And doesn't look like there's any overtaking. I'm wondering what happened to Nangle, guys. That's a very, very strange penalty. Did he get done for overtaking before the control line again?
He's still in 5th place, which I believe is where he qualified. So
yeah, 5th place is where he was on the radar on the qualifying session. And Ott's really trying to assert his authority. So the back end of that car stepping out on the exit of the curb on turn 7. And he's really trying to get away from Wedding here. He doesn't want anything to do with Lewis Wedding after knowing what pace Wedding can do. And already well and truly out there. Oh, he's gone deep. He's gone very, very deep at the Decaturville hairpin. And Lewis Wedding is through. So that's a huge surprise. Ott's trying to fight back on the inside there. Takes to the grass. On the outside, Greg Turra's there as well. So he's got Turra and Thomas to contend with. This has become a very, very close battle on lap number 1. Corey Ott's actually lost out to Greg Turra. And Turra will hold the position through the final hairpin. And all of a sudden, Corey Ott's gone from leading this field to sitting in 3rd place and staring at the back wing of a Mercedes, gents.
Yeah, Corey went and after making that mistake into the Britannia roundabout there, coming through the next couple of corners, he just tried to go for the dive on Wedding, got himself up on the curbs and left himself high and dry for Tara to get past.
Oh, we've got a full course caution here. We've got a full course caution, so it looks like there's some sort of issues going on. Is it down at turn 9? But we're under full course caution here, so no overtaking before at all.
In the pits, which could be a penalty.
That may be an explanation. So Luke has come into the pits, and he'll be lucky not to go down a lap here if he's got damage to repair. We've still got all 22 runners.
We haven't had an angle in for his penalty yet.
Well, he won't be able to serve it now anyway because you cannot serve your penalty under the safety car.
Which could be a worry if they pick him up for not taking the penalty within 3 laps.
Should be all right. We've seen this before that. If you don't take your penalty and you end up on the safety car lap, it will still reset, but he will pretty much have to serve that penalty almost straight away when he comes into, when the green flag gets shown. Bit of an interesting start to the race. We've got a very, very early safety car and a couple of very, very early overtakes.
Well, just looking back, Luke just beat the safety car out. It was very close.
Well, there he is. You're right. He's going through the centre chicane now and on his way down to the Wakefield Road to the Wakefield corner. So he has gotten out ahead of it. That's good pit work for that team.
No bonnet on that Mercedes, so at least his cooling will be improved.
Very, very improved. Interesting to see how he goes in a straight line. Wonder what happened to those guys. It looks like the accident looked like it must have happened down around turn 9. We didn't quite catch it, but it did. The flags did come out very, very quickly after lap 1 was completed.
Yeah, it looked like there was just a bit of rubbing in the back of the field sent Luke off into the wall by the looks of it. Yeah. And he caused some significant damage, but he seems to just be able to hold it flat through turn 8. So we'll see how he goes.
Well, there he goes. So here's your race order, the top 10 at the stands at the moment. So Lewis Wedding has taken over control at the head of the field from Corey Ott after his mistake at turn 9. Greg Turra has also taken advantage of that. He's moved up to 2nd place. Corey slotting into the 3rd place ahead of Aaron Thomas, who was threatening on that lap 2 just prior to the full course caution being thrown. Here's Greg Nangle, and as you can see there from the little traffic lights above his position, which is 5th, he has a penalty to serve as soon as possible. Stairs is 6th, so no difference to where he started. Same for Baker, no difference to where he started in 7th. Same with Brock Harvey. Phil Boker's moved up 1 spot. He's up to 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is Matt Schwass, who has lost 1 position from the start in that yellow and black Ferrari, yellow and grey, I should say, Ferrari.
And Johnny has done well, he started last place, he's now up to 17th.
Yep.
So he's had a good start.
In that, the only Porsche in the field, we should add. So he is up 5 spots, as you can see on your screen there, so starting last. So obviously taking advantage of the calamity that made the safety car come out, and has gained 2 positions by that, and probably 3 positions by his own driving. Does it mean, gentlemen, does that car look like it has have a dent in the back of it on the rear bumper, or is that just the design of that Porsche? You can't see the minute from the helicopter cam, but I'm not sure.
It does look like someone has been into the back of that car.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it belongs. That dent belongs on the back of that car. But anyway, we will keep an eye on that to see if that affects any of his driving. But up 5 positions already is a very good return for 1 lap's worth of driving.
Yeah, I'd give my opinion on the Porsches, but my opinion on Porsches is fairly well known, so I'd say it's probably meant to be there.
Yeah, there's quite a few people that echo the same sentiments as yourself, Bagsy, with Porsches, and we won't go into those particular comments, but we'll let viewers tune into the ARW broadcasts for several opinions.
Ask Jeremy Clarkson if you're curious.
I believe glorified Beetle is the way it's described. It's the nicest way I've heard it described.
That's definitely one of them.
Well, you can see in the background there that Luke has caught up to the back of this pack. So some good pit work for that team to repair the damage and probably top him off with fuel and a new set of tyres. Put him on an alternate strategy. But he has caught the back of the pack. As we wait for a resumption in proceedings.
One more lap on the
Yeah, we got one. I think it's one more lap. We normally we have seen some series with shorter safety car periods, but we've got one more lap to go.
I think the one we had on Thursday in the V8 race, I think that was 2 laps, which I haven't come across before.
It's a similar situation over in the ARW League. They run a full course caution for 2 laps, and pitting not permitted until the end of the first caution lap, unless it's an emergency.
While we've got some downtime in this last lap before the safety car comes in, what's the favourite car in this GT3 series of the 2 of you? So start with Nelly.
Well, in terms of something that stands out like dog's balls, it's got to be Lewis Wedding's Lamborghini Huracan. That bright pink is something you don't see every day. But in terms of the favourite car, I'm probably going to have to go with the Mercedes. Just got so much. The noise that thing makes is absolutely biblical, to quote Jeremy Clarkson. And from what I think you said a little bit earlier, Bagsy, when on the down change, it sounds like someone's firing off some sort of a weapon. It has an absolutely awesome sound coming out those rear tailpipes.
And I actually have a Mercedes in this field, but I could be running if I was still racing in it, so I have to say Mercedes, otherwise I might lose my contract.
Well, you and your injury that waiting for you to heal.
Enjoying the commentary too much now.
Yeah, you're going to be a regular here. Bagsy, don't leave us hanging. Come on, you've got to...
My personal favourite of this field is actually the Ferrari of Matt Schwass. He's currently in 10th at the moment.
That's that yellow and grey entry.
Yellow and grey. I quite like it. I didn't realise I'd like the yellow and grey Ferrari, but I mean, I'd like any Ferrari, to be honest.
It does look nice.
A yellow and grey one would also be excellent.
Well, we're just waiting for lights out on the safety car to see if it will come in this lap. We're expecting it to. Wedding's backing the field up, and it is coming in. And Johnny's got a stop-go penalty as well, so we're not sure what that's to do with, but I would suspect it could be for being out of position or a pass with the green flag. The guys have been told that they can't pass until they get to the control line, otherwise they're going to get a penalty. And we've just seen another one issued. So Wedding now leads the field away on lap 6 of this time-certain race. Hard to believe we've only gone just over 9 minutes, and we've only got 6 laps in.
And Nangle will surely have to be in this lap for his penalty.
Yeah, well, we'll be keeping an eye on Nangle behind the scenes, but Tara very, very loose, and got trying to take advantage of that behind the scenes, but he couldn't quite do so. And another safety car. So what's happened this time? Let's see if we can work out what's happened up and down the field. But we've got another full course caution, and this will be frustrating some of these guys because they're not going to be able to play their strategy hand until
Brendan Simmons is out.
So Brendan Simmons is out. So
And
Brendan
Johnny is out.
All right, so Brendan Simmons is out. So let's see if we can have a bit of a look at what may have happened there. But no, nothing doing there. And
Looks to me like Johnny and Simmons have had
I think they've probably had some sort of accident, but that's most unfortunate. And we now will return to the live action. Unfortunately, we could not do a replay there because those guys were in the garage before the replays were able to be seen. And actually, look at Luke. We're just looking at Luke here. Just a big lock-up on the run into turn number 9. So I'm wondering if maybe he's been involved in an altercation somewhere with those guys as well, where there was a big, and look at it, a big, huge plume of smoke under brakes for that car. So something's gone. I would say he's been involved in whatever incident has befouled Johnny and Brendan Simons as well.
And it looks like Voda has had another issue under the safety car.
Yeah.
Going by what they're talking about.
And Luke's coming in. So Luke's coming in. It looked like there's a big dent in the. Yeah, there's a few dents in the side of that Mercedes. So I'm not sure if he's going to be repaired and out anytime soon. But he's currently in the pits. We've got Brett. Rob Dunt's in the pits as well, or was in the pits. This will be frustrating for the guys at the front of the field. They would want to be getting on with things. They don't want to be touring around behind the safety car, but unfortunately they must. And we were talking about before, Nangle's still got that penalty hanging over his head, and he probably would have come in and served at that lap, I would imagine. But again, not able to do so.
I imagine it's getting quite tense in that Mercedes cockpit at the moment. Expecting a more severe penalty or disqualification any minute, without being too sure of the rules.
Well, the rules state that you've got 3 green flag laps to be able to serve the penalty, and then Luke's been given a drive-through penalty, and that will be for a pit lane speeding, 100% for sure.
Would have got off the limiter a bit earlier, I'd say.
Would have got off the limiter a little bit too early, and we keep speaking about this, but the guys still keep making the same mistakes, and I don't mean if we had a bit of tape on their hairy wrists for every single offence that they did, and we ripped it off, I'm sure they would eventually get the message. But you can't teach an old man a dog new tricks, and some of these guys just probably won't be taught.
Can be difficult. Sorry, mate, you go.
They're race car drivers. They want to go fast, and even in the pit lane when they're not allowed to.
It can be difficult releasing the limiter as well, because at some tracks you tend to go by where the traffic lights are on the end of the lane, because you can see them the moment you cross the line, but some tracks they're not quite lined up perfectly with the pit exit line.
Yeah, we actually, back on the broadcast, it's a good you mentioned that, back on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago, we had the GT3, we had the Formula 3 at Santa Cruz, and the start-finish line was actually at the end of the pit lane, but then it was a little bit further on that the traffic lights and the control line for the pit lane was. So if you did release it a little bit early, you had basically 2 lines to cross before you could actually release that pit lane speed limiter.
I got one at Simmons Plains a few weeks ago on the V8, so I released the limiter at the lights, and the line was about a foot further along and got a penalty. Somehow didn't actually lose a place from that.
And not too long ago, we'd actually seen, if you recall, watching the proper Supercars broadcast from Phillip Island last weekend, the likes of Jamie, what is his name? Jamie Whincup, sorry, I do apologise, Mr. Whincup. Actually releasing his pit lane speed limiter while he was still in the pit lane, and that was actually a breach of the rules. So same sort of applies here. You've got to keep your pit lane speed limiter on when you're in the pits at all times until you clear that line.
Whincup didn't actually go over the speed limit there, did he? It's a requirement.
It's a requirement. That's exactly correct. He couldn't go any faster, but he did release the limiter and then put it back on, but rules are rules. And for safety's sake, the guys just should keep the limiter on at all times they're in the pit lane. Well, we've got one more lap to go of this safety car. Second safety car in quick succession. We've lost 2 runners. Johnny and Brendan Simons are the 2 that are out, so the only Porsche in the field is gone, and one of the Nismo Nissans is out as well.
Luke is doing very well, even with the safety cars. He's been through the pits twice, and he's right on the back of the field.
Yeah. Well, mind you, he will have a drive-through penalty that he will have to serve. So I guess any advantage that he's gained from stopping and having to repair the damage and top up the fuel and put some new tyres on is about to be negated when he has to serve that drive-through penalty, as you can see by the little red arrow just above his position marker on screen. That is a drive-through penalty. Well, let's come up from the back of the field and have a, as we see them snaking their way along East Terrace here and now into Flinders Street at the back of the field as we work our way forward through the field and show you everyone's liveries while we wait for this safety car period to finish. Have a look at this. Actually, one of my favourite liveries, and I've got it on screen here right now, gentlemen, is the number what is it? The number 8 car of David Keane, that Aston Martin. He's currently in 15th place, and that's a Matrix lookalike car if I've ever seen one. Very reminiscent of a livery that Pablo in ARW ran, just not as bright. This one's a bit of a blue, and his one was a green one, but still, that car looks absolutely staggering.
It is. I do like the circuit board style livery. Quite nice.
I was quite upset when they released that livery because you didn't use the Tats Kino logo. But I believe that's on the rear wing for his Supercar and Super Series livery, so
I believe we're about to go green as
Are
well.
we going green? No, we've got another safety car lap. So
Another one. I thought we were on the last one already.
so did I. I actually believe we're on the last lap there too, because we're on lap 9. We resumed on lap 6.
yeah, that should have been the last one.
That should have been the last safety car lap, but unfortunately we're going again.
A lot of debris on the track from that last incident.
Maybe.
It may have been due to the timing of where the safety car was called, because the leaders were already across the line, so that initial lap didn't count as a safety car lap. As people are getting at the back, people are getting quite bunched up. The concertina effect is causing some issues.
But maybe
Yeah,
maybe three laps would follow the leader with the safety car rather than 3 laps of being out.
Possibly. Well, as we look back through the pack, we can see, yeah, it is getting a little bit concertina defected. They've just now strung themselves out. So we would hope that they don't trip over each other and cause a few more problems for each other. So we know that Luca's got a drive-through penalty to serve. Johnny had a stop-go penalty, but he's retired now, so he won't necessarily need to serve that. Actually, have a look at the concertina effect now here, guys, between turns 6 and 7. That's where it's starting to become a bit of a problem.
Yeah, you can tell these guys are keen to go.
They're keen to go racing again.
Keen to go racing because they're getting a bit antsy. They're starting to get a bit close to the people in front. They're warming their brakes and tires, and all it takes is someone in front, the person in front of you is warming brakes as you're warming your tires, and there's you meet in the middle.
It's not a good situation to have either after we've just had 2 safety cars. They'll be very patient to get going, and the chances of another one straight away are probably quite high.
Well, you said a 95% chance of a safety car, didn't you? We've already had 2.
We've had 2. This is very, very high probability, and I wouldn't put it past you, gentlemen, that we're going to have another one at some point. I don't want to put the moz on anybody, but I've got a funny feeling that we're going to have another one at some point.
My worry is just that it's going to be almost immediate that we have another.
Yeah. Well, hard to believe. Safety car's in, so hard to believe. We're back under green, and we've had a number of yellow flag laps, and we've only gone just under 18 minutes here, just over 18 minutes. Lewis Wedding's got the whole shot and got a nice little buffer of about half a second up on the field. And as we go through the centre chicane, oh, that was Greg Turra just getting very, very sideways on the curb. And Corey Ott's retaken second position. Aaron Thomas is lining up Turra in the background as well. Turra's very, very loose in the back there, but Corey Ott now will be chasing after Wedding. I don't know what to say about Turra, but he just got absolutely loose, guys.
I can't believe he caught that one, to be honest. That was an incredible save. He'll be spitting chips in the cockpit, but kudos to him for saving the night so far. It's very... Oh, there's someone at the back in the wall. I believe it is Brett Limmer, the newcomer. He's in the wall. It's just a local yellow.
Yep, well, there he is. He's rotated the car, so he's now facing the right direction. So we'll have a look and cut to the replay and see if we can have a look at what happened here. So here he is on screen, Brett Limmer, and also straight into the couple of, not just our broadcaster lagging a little bit, but a bit of a drama there. Yep, just did it all on his own and hit the wall. So unfortunately for Brett Limmer, having to hit the wall and recover. So back to live action now. He's now down in 19th.
Still hasn't come into the pits.
So Nangles doesn't come into the pits, but Corey Ott setting the fast lap here of a 20.1, so he's all over Lewis Wedding here. Now this could be the run. This is an opportunity, a passing opportunity here. He's on the inside, so he's got the high ground, and just a little bit of a rubber panels. There's nothing malicious in that, but Ott retakes the lead that he had at the very beginning and relinquished at the end of lap 1, and already wanting to put the hammer down.
He's already sent it.
Just behind this leading pack of 4, Nangle, might be in his head a little bit knowing he's got that penalty, because he is forming quite the truly train. He's got stairs all over the back of him as they come down into turn 8.
Here we go. Here's Nangle holding up. Stairs, Baker. He's also got Phil Boak there. Brock Harvey's tucked in behind as well. This little train of 5 cars. Now Stairs knows that that Nangle's got a penalty and gone deep, and they're both gone deep. What on earth happened there? Stairs has actually hit the wall, and now they've recovered. So Nangle's recovered back to 8th there. So that's very, very unlucky for both Nangle and Stairs.
To 14.
And Stairs still going down the field. So Tara's in. So Tara's in to serve the stop go. And you're right, probably was in his head. He knew he had to do it. And he's now going to come in and serve that thing.
Very out of character for Greg to cave like that with the pressure.
And immediately on your...
Nangle.
And immediately on your screen, you saw it just before, the fastest lap went to Corey Ott, some 2 seconds of a lap quicker than Lewis Wedding. So he is applying the pressure and trying to stretch away from this field.
He's almost 2 seconds
I
up.
see Brendan Ross just touring the infield of the chicane there. We're having a few lag issues. We think it might just be our host broadcaster that is giving us the trouble. So we do apologise if it looks like cars are diving into walls. They certainly are not diving into walls. But look at this gap that Corey Ott's got already, gentlemen. He's got a 2.5 second lead. Oh, we've just lost Greg Turra in the background. Turra's gone from wall to wall at turn 8, and he absolutely walloped that wall. He walloped the outside wall and the inside wall. He's surely got damage.
There are some big dents on the side of that car.
Well, we should have a look at that on the replay and see if we can have a look at what happened. So here it is. He was in 3rd position. Coming down, he was behind Wedding, probably getting a little bit impatient, got a bit of a slipstream. And here it is, just took a bit too much curb, and around the slideways she went, and from outside wall to inside wall, and that is all she wrote.
With the speed you're carrying through turn 8 in these GT3 cars, as soon as the back steps out, there's almost no chance of saving it. If you do, you probably lose more time than you actually did from the crash.
Tara seems confident because that his car isn't too damaged, because he's stayed out. He's in 4th now, so he's only lost 1 position from that. But he's got Baker and Brock Harvey behind him, but I guess he feels he has the pace to live with them or get away from them. Despite the damage, he's going to stick with his original strategy.
Looks like he's right hand down at the moment though, so there is... there's definitely some steering damage. He's got right hand down.
Well, that's going to compromise him for the guys that are behind. There's now a little train starting to form again. And he takes turn 8, okay, but leaving a margin for error. Most of the guys leaving a margin for error.
Sorry guys, Corey Ott is 5 seconds ahead, I think.
Yeah, he's absolutely hammering. We saw it before. He was just putting in fastest lap after fastest lap. His last lap around was a 17.5, so getting into qualifying lap territory. This guy is absolutely fanging it, for want of a better word. And look at that lap time, another 17.5, and not far off his best either. So that Aston is working extremely well, and I think he wants to probably build a gap here. Maybe has he potentially gone for a low fuel strategy early on, considering that Lewis Wedding, the man in 2nd, is some 2 seconds a lap off this leading pace?
Yeah, it might be. It's also Wedding is under a lot of pressure from Aaron Thomas at the moment, so that is probably also affecting both their lap times. So this will be music to the ears to Corey to know that Thomas is applying that pressure, because it's allowing him to just romp away at the front.
The interesting thing with Corey's pace is Brock Harvey had complained about a lot of understeer from that Aston Martin during the week, so without being able to change the setup, it's amazing how he's been able to get this car going around so quickly and being able to pull away from Lewis Wedding and Aaron Thomas so easily.
Speaking of Aaron Thomas just went up the inside of Wedding in the Decaturville hairpin and has moved up into second place.
Well, according to the screens, he has, but according to the timing screen, something's going up with the timing screens here, guys. There's something happened to Aaron Thomas. We've seen this before, where a few guys just have a little bit of technical hitch. He might be ahead of him on track, but Lewis Wedding is still registering as the second place. Now he changes to third, and Thomas 2 seconds. So a little bit of a glitch with our timing system there for a moment. But you are correct. Aaron Thomas is the man that is currently in second, and he was right in the thick of it in the last round at Imola. Had quite a few battles up there, and ultimately finished. Where did he finish in that round? He finished 15th, unfortunately. So he was up there early and faded at the very, very end of it quite badly.
Not sure if it was server lag or not, but we just had Phil Boak swerving across the track coming out of turn 9 off the curbs into the wall, but it doesn't look to have any damage, so not 100% sure if he's actually had the crash.
I believe it is server lag. When we have so many people in the server, you can get a bit of rubber banding. The server isn't sending the right signals to us as to where people are exactly, but we work through it, and we'll try and keep everyone informed of exactly what's happening, even if it takes us a little bit longer.
Well, and some things that haven't actually happened as well.
Oh, we've just seen Phil Boak just go very wide at the Decaturville hairpin as well. So there's quite a gaggle of cars that are all together. So Boak's actually lost a position there, and that's been taken over by Heath Dixon. So Heath,
the Bentley in front of him across the grass.
That's right. So Heath was the round winner for very first round at Bathurst in that Bentley Continental, or sometimes we like to call it's the Boatley, because you sit very, very low in that car. If you've ever seen the driving position, you'll know what I mean. And just behind there, you can see in shot that Audi of Stairs, also of ARW. So he was right up there in 6th place for a while, waiting for Greg to serve his penalty, and unfortunately went a little bit too deep at turn 9 and suffered badly, and he's recovering. So he really needs a safety car to try and make something work for him. Probably one of our picks that was going to be up there, and unfortunately for him, finds himself in mid-pack at the moment.
Yeah, he's the big loser so far, positions-wise. 6 positions down on his starting position of 6th, which is quite unfortunate for him. The big winner so far, is Voda, who is up 6 positions. He started 21st, he's up to 15th. He's taken advantage of some of the people in front of him having issues and retiring, so he's doing quite well for himself at the moment.
Well, here he is
defending from Ross.
Well, here he is on screen, as we rightly pointed out, defending from Brendan Ross. Paul Voda taking a little bit of flack over the recent weeks for some of his driving style and a few penalties that he may have received over the course of time, but looks like he's doing quite well here and defending quite well, actually, we should say, guys, from Ross behind him. Ross unable to find a way past in that Ferrari as we watch him, and he goes around, and that's a local yellow, so we're fortunate there that there's no full course, but Voda making it very difficult for him to get past, but it was all above board, and actually Voda's coming into the pits, so that's a strategy play there. And as we flick across to see Greg Nangle, actually he's one of the big losers, having to take that stop-go penalty. He's down 10 positions, would you believe, fellas? 10!
Yeah, it's always going to cost you early in the race getting these penalties, but because it's early in the race, there's still the chance. There's still 50 minutes left of this race, so more safety cars and Nangle's pace. He certainly has a chance to get back up there for a podium.
Yep.
Maybe not the win anymore with the pace that Ott has, but definitely a podium or a top 5.
A podium would be a blessing for Greg Nangle if he can recover to it, but he's going to need it all to go his way. As he's rightly pointed out, he needs another full course caution to get back up with the pack and close the whole entire pack back up again. Whether or not we see one, we're expecting we'll see one, but it'll be a while.
We've got a bit of a line forming behind Baker at the moment. You've got a line from 5th pretty much all the way back down to 12th. From Baker to Stairs, all on the same straight at the same time.
Here is Baker on screen. So he was one of the ones that we predicted may potentially clamber over the top of the other guys if they were going to make any mistakes. None have been made by the top leading runners so far, apart from Greg Nangle having to come in and serve that pit lane penalty.
Corey Ott with an. Actually, it looks like Corey may have had a crash, guys.
Well, here he is. He's lost a little bit of his advantage.
Yeah, the time was just going down rapidly. He may have been into a corner and it was just catching up down the straight.
Well, he did lose a bit of time to Aaron Thomas. So Thomas had about an 11-second gap to Corey, and now Corey has lost some advantage of that. So maybe going wide at a turn, or maybe just rubbing the wall a little bit. Car seems to be tracking relatively straight. Doesn't seem to. It's got a little bit of a dint in the left-hand door, but apart from that, it seems to be in good shape.
For a street circuit, you'll take a dent in the door any day of the week.
Well, in actual fact, it says here that the time's just fluctuated a little bit, so there it is. It's now 9.5 seconds back to Aaron Thomas. Oh, we've just got a Ferrari that's parked itself at the Wakefield corner, and it's Corey Ott. We just see him just clouding the wall a little bit there, probably a bit distracted by the Ferrari that was in the wall. Who's that Ferrari that was in the wall at turn 4, gents? That one of the red ones. We've got several of them.
Just try to have a look to see. I believe it might be Ross.
It looks like Brett Limmer. He's missing his boot cover, which is on the front of these mid-engine cars.
Yep. So it looks like it was potentially Brett Limmer, but there are a couple of other Ferraris. We're waiting to see what if any of them.
The only one I can find that has any damage to it at the moment. Brendan Ross actually also missing his boot.
Yeah, I believe it was Ross, because Ross was... Yeah, it was Ross. He was in the same part of the track as Corey Ott at the time.
Alright, so Brendan Ross it was, and Corey Ott probably just getting a little bit distracted there and just had a bit of a tank slapper on out of that turn 4.
Greg Nangle with a big slide. He's just come up on my screen sliding through corners, but still moving well.
Well, you can see it in shot there. Corey Ott is actually coming up to put Luke one lap down, so already a lap down. We have Ross, Voda, Aussie and Limmer, the last 4 on the track, are all a lap down. Luke will be the next one to be a lap down, but then it'll be some considerable distance to Greg Nangle, and I don't think Greg will end up going a lap down unless he makes a horrible mistake.
Stairs has just had a mistake or lost a position here, guys, and I think Davies has just gone round.
Yep, so Dwayne Davies is going down the field, so there he is. He's gone off the last turn. He went off at the last turn, so he's recovering. So let's see if we can have a look at the replay. So here he is. He was in a pack here. So he had Dwayne Davies and a bunch of the Ferraris behind him. Just tagged the wall a little bit on the exit of turn number 11. And we're watching here on replay. And our host broadcaster is giving us all sorts of issues again. I don't think we're going to run any more of the replays tonight, gents. We're going to have a bit of a hard time trying to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. The replays for cars that you haven't been looking at can be a bit iffy, unfortunately. But what happened, the start of that whole section was Stairs was trying to make a move on Dwayne Davies, and they both ran deep into the Decateville Terrace hairpin, and that made them 3 wide. It was Foley.
Speaking
Stairs.
of making a move, sorry to cut across you there, Stairs making a move on Rob Dunt for 11th place, so gaining back a couple of those positions, and that was at the turn we were just talking about, and it was a very clean move on the inside, and the next man up the road for him will be Brenton Foley, and that'll put Stairs back into the top 10 as soon as he can catch him and make another passing move.
We've got Heath Dixon and Matthew Schwass having a good battle here. Dixon's just lost a little bit of ground on him out of the last corner when the back stepped out, but they were side by side for a couple of corners, and he'll be looking to catch back up and hopefully get that position.
So Heath Dixon has lost out to Matt Schwass. You can see it on your timing screen on the left there. So he's down to 8th. Matt Schwass up to 7th. Who else are we looking at? Who else are some of the guys that we fancied earlier in the piece? We fancied Lewis Wedding, but he's obviously down in 3rd at the moment. Actually quite some considerable distance off of Corey Ott.
He's brought back up to Aaron. They were 2.5 seconds apart. Now they're right behind each other.
Yep, so they have caught up, and we will cross over to that battle. And you can see them here. Lewis is all over the back of that BMW through the final sector here. Not quite close enough to make a passing move into the final turn, but he'll settle in behind and try again for another run at a later opportunity.
Lewis is a very smart driver too, so he won't be rushed into making it until he knows he can get it done.
And as we pointed out a little bit earlier in the piece, the S word will come into play very, very soon. So here we go. There's Thomas going defensive. on Wedding, but Wedding stays around the outside. He's got the high ground here for turn number 5, and they stay side by side. Thomas is going to have the high ground here now for turn 6. This is Flinders and Hutt Street, and now has to fold in behind Lewis Wedding for turn number 7. So that was a nice sequence of corners that Lewis just tried to send it up the outside, and they stuck it out, and they gave each other room, and that's extremely good racing.
Yeah, it was well raced by both of them there. A lot of respect between these two, obviously, and they kept nice and clean and provided quite the spectacle. Wedding has a bit of a run here, though, on Thomas F turn 8. He shows his nose, but thinks better of it. Just giving Thomas something to think about there. He's like, next time I might be coming through here, and they'll be playing on Thomas's mind. Just a quick look at, we've got some of the tyre wear of some of the front runners. Seems that of the front runners, Ott is being a lot more hard. It's a lot harder on his tyres, and that's his general.
As well.
That's his general style. But Ott is a lot harder on his tyres. So if he's not careful, he may, you might see him spin out at the front, even though he's got a lead. That lead will evaporate very quickly if you cook your rear tyres and can't get the traction down.
Well, speaking of Corey Ott, here he is on screen. His gap is out to nearly 11 seconds. He is lapping traffic. So he's actually just put Ross 2 laps down. Dwayne Davies is just reporting his DNF here, gentlemen. So he's falling through the field as the traffic goes past. So that's our 3rd DNF runner. Didn't see what happened to him, but we did know he was in the wars not too long ago. So that's our 3rd DNF. We're down to 19 runners.
Just trying to have a look to see if there's anything on the replays that shows us what happened to Dwayne Davies, but it seems like we don't have any footage of that, unfortunately. So
he's just sending me some messages now, so I'll be able to find out what happened for you.
So man on the ground will give us the lowdown. And in the meantime, this man on screen continues to lead and puts another car a lap down. That's Brett Limmer. So Limmer goes 2 laps down to Corey Ott, and Corey continues to press on. Now, strategy is going to come into play sooner rather than later, gentlemen. This is lap 25. We've got any idea how long these tank of fuel and the tyres are going to last, and which is going to expire first? Because surely some of these guys will have to think about when they want to come in. Granted, we had a couple of safety car periods. I should apologise. We had a couple of safety car periods, and that could also have impacted the strategy calls.
Tank of petrol lasts approximately 23 laps, depending on how you drive it, obviously. Davies has sent me a picture of his tyre wear, which doesn't look too bad when he crashed out. So the tyres seem to be quite durable, but the petrol is really going to be the main player in the race.
And we estimate we had about 7 laps under safety car as well, so we're probably thinking maybe the pit window is probably about now, so probably now to about lap 30, I would say. Probably is where we would expect most of the guys to come in.
It depends on what sort of strategy you're wanting to do, because we're still not even at the halfway point of this race yet. It does, because we have those 2 safety cars, these guys are probably getting to the end of their fuel runs now. So
Davies actually had 7 laps of petrol left on board, and his problem was a connection issue.
Okay, so he dropped out purely and simply by technical issues, as Corey Ott, here we go, puts, that's Aussie, another lap down. So Aussie now 2 laps down.
But 7 laps
through the field.
7 laps on board when he left the race a couple laps ago. So they'll still probably have about 5 laps before they absolutely need to pit. But it depends on what they want to do strategy-wise towards the end of the race.
The problem is here, honestly, the best strategy might have been pitting anyone who pit about 5 laps ago and is thinking about doing a 2-stopper, because you get the fresh tyres and lower fuel amounts, versus if you fill up, in the next 5 laps, say, you might not make it through to the end of the race, because we did have a lot of laps under the safety car, and you can't expect that to happen. You might be hoping for a safety car to help you make the strategy work, but that's not necessarily going to happen. As just seeing Wedding and Thomas are battling it quite closely. They've swapped positions a couple of times now. Wedding was in second for a little while as Brendan Ross gets a drive-through penalty. I believe that's for speeding in the pit lane.
That will most certainly be for a pit lane speeding infringement. As Wedding very, very sideways off of the last turn. Well, what we're going to do here is go on board with Aaron Thomas and take you for a lap from bumper cam of this Adelaide street circuit. So Bagsy, take it away.
Yeah, so we've got Aaron Thomas here going through, as I believe Wedding's actually quite close to him, as we come up Wakefield Street. Sorry, no, I've got that incorrect. But they're coming in to turn up the staircase here. It's lots of on and off the throttle, and basically, if you get too much throttle, you're going to go round. So we're coming onto the straight here, coming towards turn 8. It's the fastest point on the track. You've got to absolutely commit to this corner because it is entirely flat it's still entirely flat here, even on worn tyres. Obviously, it doesn't have much fuel. Braking very, very late at the 100-metre board. Try to stick to that apex. You can run it out wide a bit onto that curb, but you don't want to get too much because it'll unsettle the car. Coming into the final section near the race course, get as close to the wall as you can on the right. You have your quick left, and you start braking just as you finish turning right in here, down into the final hairpin, and that is a lap of the Adelaide Street Circuit.
We've got a couple cars in the pit lane here.
All right, so we've got the first of our stoppers.
Brendan Ross has stopped, and one of them is Sadie's.
Yep, so most of the back markers appear to be stopping, and this is where strategy will come into play. So is Tara in? Did you say Tara was there as well?
Yep, looks like he's hit the wall on the way in as well, so there might be some quick fixes for them to make this car as well.
Well, that will be interesting for Greg Tara because very, very late in the piece, you don't want to be repairing damage immediately on the one into the pit lane. As Stairs actually continues past and goes up to 7th, so Stairs is still recovering from his incident down at turn 9 several laps ago, but by virtue of Tara going into the pits, that promotes Stairs up to 7th. So he did start 6th, and now closing in on the back of Boak and Schwass, who are battling away for position just ahead. In actual fact, let's join that battle. Sorry, Brock Harvey.
Brock Harvey has been jumping right across the curbs at turn 7 a lot during the race, which to me says he still has that understeer issue, which Corey seems to have figured out. So that will be one to watch, just in case on worn tyres towards the end of the race.
Oh, Spoke just shaves the wall on turn 8 as he's in pursuit here of Schwass, and no penalty to pay there. It was just a little rub. No malicious damage done. Just coming back to your point about Brock Harvey and the corner at turn 7, we were looking at it from taking on the inside, or is it actually running over the curb on the outside? I think you said understeer, so that would suggest to me it's on the outside.
Normally, if you're going to cross over those curbs, you want to do. You want to.
Oh, look at it! We've just had an incident in the pit lane, and we're just watching Philip Boak from the helicam, and he locked it up. You saw it on the replay there. He tried to go as late as he could on the brakes and ended up spinning it into the pit wall. Fortunately, on the right side, he will have lost several seconds there, though, trying to recover that car. That's something you don't. And he's having problems getting to the pit box too. Finally in the pit box now, but that's something you don't see every day. Baker in the pits now as well, and that puts Stairs up to 5th. So by virtue of everybody stopping, he's moving further forward. We've actually. Oh no, we thought we had a full course caution. A minute, the yellow flag just came up, but it's a local yellow. My heart stopped for a moment there. And by virtue of all the guys stopping, Stairs is slowly picking his way back through the field, but he's still got some considerable amount of time to the race leader, who's nearly 41 seconds behind the race leader. And the strategy's starting to shake out here.
Greg Tara, who pit from, I believe, he pit from 4th place, but he's gone a lap down. He's at 6th place and a lap down because none of the front runners have pit yet, so they've been managing to save fuel quite well. And none of the front 3 have blinked yet. Corey Ott's still enjoying. He's brought it out to 13 seconds, the lead from what was 10 seconds a few laps ago. It'll be interesting to see how the strategy plays out. Who's going to blink first out of these guys?
Just saw Stairs close up very, very heavily under brakes there on Matt Schwass ahead of him in that Ferrari. That Audi's definitely got some stopping power, and Stairs needing to make the strategy work now. As you rightly pointed out, the guys ahead have not stopped, or the top 3 have not stopped, and they will need to very soon as it all shakes out.
The top 5 haven't stopped so far. Everyone below that, I believe, has stopped.
Yep.
And just to go back to Brock Harvey using the turn 7 curve, Normally, if you're going to go across that, you want to hit it almost directly side on. Then the car's a bit more settled when it hits it, and it doesn't sort of throw the balance out. But Brock's
Here we go, guys. Here we go. Sorry to cut across you. The first of the leading trio is in, so that's Aaron Thomas in the BMW is in, and Corey Otts as well. Otts as well. So they're blinking. They're realising what's going on here, and they're blinking.
Now, this is an interesting decision from Lewis to stay out.
The question is, how long can he extend it for? Or is he going to have to come in very, very soon? But we did say that the pit window is probably from about 25, 26 up until about 30, and we were pretty close. It's now lap 31.
Pushing it here. He'll have to be saving petrol on this lap, surely.
The best thing to look at here is Tara, he's got fresh tyres but a full load of fuel, whereas Wedding is going to be in a very light car with worn tyres. See how Wedding goes. If he pulls away from Tara, then it might be better to do the overcut versus the undercut.
We've just
We
seen.
definitely had to take the risk with Corey's lead as well. That was 13.5 seconds Corey came in, so any risk is worth taking.
We've just seen Stairs and Matt Schwass exchange positions as well. So Stairs currently up to second, with Matt Schwass down to third, by virtue of those guys at the front stopping. As we head back to the front, here's Lewis Wedding. Now, what decision does he make? He's continuing on. So obviously got plenty of juice in that Lamborghini, the only one in the field, and continues to press on.
He's being monstered by Tara now, though, so you've got the feeling this might be the wrong decision, because he's clearly losing time on the people he's battling. I think this will put him out of touch from Thomas.
We've got to remember too that Tara is officially one lap down as Voda gets off the racing line, and that's well done. And
it could be possible that Wedding has, after the safety cars, decided to save fuel. With Corey having the advantage, especially the way Corey has pulled away, it could be he's decided to save fuel and see if he can make it.
But the question is, what point would that actually serve? Because he's going to have to stop sooner rather than later. I mean, if he can go a bit longer and come out and retain the lead, then that would be fair enough. But he was some considerable distance behind when Ott did come in, and even if a safety car comes out now and he decides to pit, it's not going to favour him. He's still going to come out behind Ott.
If he can make the one stopper work, though, he has saved probably 45 seconds going through the pit lane, so that may be what he's tried to do.
Well, we've gone well past halfway. We've got 32 nearly 33 minutes remaining in this race. And
if we do go caution free till the end of the race, then Weddings, as he's still staying out. He's staying out for another lap.
If there is another safety car, he will be fine. If not, he'll definitely have to pit. But it's one more is a bit 50-50 for him. Two more is an easy one stopper.
For Wedding, he doesn't want a safety car, because if there's no safety car, almost everyone else will most likely have to pit, you'd think.
I don't think he can make the... Actually, maybe.
I think it'll be touch and go.
Yeah, it's roughly half an hour going, if you go by averages from track to track. It's roughly half an hour you can get from tanks. So.
Well, the cogs just popped up on our screen here, guys, just above Lewis Wedding's position, which is number 1, as he lets Tara go by because he's being monstered here. And that usually signals that, hey, I want to come in. And he's got a 29-second lead over Stairs. And I'm expecting that we'll probably see Lewis Wedding in this lap. There's the local yellow flag down there, and that's for... who's that that just run off the end of turn number 9 there? Someone on the Mercedes. That's Aussie. Aussie's a couple of laps down anyway, now 3 laps down. He'll get one of those laps back when the leader comes in.
Guys, this could be very interesting when Lewis comes out of pits as well. He's 56 seconds.
He's continuing on. He's decided to continue on. So we thought that he may have come in just by virtue of the cog that was on the screen there, but no, he continues to go. So obviously, he's quite happy with the car, and he keeps going.
Can't believe he's paid the fuel last, especially with the V10 in.
Well, we've got to remember that these cars are all sort of balanced out, so they don't, use too much or too less, or they have the balance of power, as they like to call it. And he's putting his power in that Huracan to good use at the moment. So he exits turn 6 and now through 7. And as you see, they're not using any curb on the exit of 7, but now pressing on. Now, he's got quite a gap to Stairs here. I'm wondering if Stairs has actually stopped. Yeah, Stairs is in the pits, so Stairs has stopped, which means he's going to surrender second place to Corey Ott, as we watch Ott on screen, coming around the last turn and down the main straight, and potentially also to Aaron Thomas. So Aaron Thomas around in the last turn as well. Stairs will now go down to fourth. The question is he going to be in the pits when Tara arrives? And I think the answer is it. Wedding is pit. So here we go. So the race leader is in the pits, and there he is. So this is the moment. So Ott went through not all that long ago. You can see the limiter flashing away there on the back of Lewis Wedding as he takes his stop. But this is the race-defining moment. Corey Ott is on the run to turn number 8 as he comes down the hill and sweeping now to the right. We will be expecting to see him resume the lead of the race, unless, of course, Lewis Wedding's going on to an alternate strategy. Ott will have already have a few laps on these tyres, and he'll probably have a bit more fuel on board as well. Coming into the last sector now.
Very well have to stop again as well.
Well, this is where the strategy. This is what we love. We love seeing the strategies converge and seeing where it all happens. So, here's Ott to the last turn. Wedding's still in the pits.
Wedding is driving down the pit lane now.
So Wedding's in the pit lane. So this is going to be interesting. There he is. We just saw a little bit of the flash of pink on that screen as Ott takes the lead back. As we look back to Lewis Wedding, he is crossing the pit exit line now, and is some nearly 10 seconds behind by the time he gets back up to speed. He's just got out ahead of Aaron Thomas, so that battle is set to resume. Aaron already having the benefit of a couple of laps on those tyres, and they'll be warm, they'll be up to temperature, so if he's going to apply the blowtorch to Lewis, it's got to be now.
I do have tyre warmers for the GT3s, so it won't take Lewis very long to get them up to temperature, and I do think that Corey probably have to pit again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Corey, Thomas, Tara, Baker, all these guys are most likely going to have to pit again. Also, Schwass, Boak, Foley, Nangle are most likely going to have to pit again. Whereas we get the feeling that Wedding and also Stairs, who just pit, might be able to go to the end. Stairs is in 11th, but if he doesn't have to pit again, then there's a good chance that he can gain a lot of. He could almost end up ahead of Thomas or Ott if they have to pit again, because it is quite a long pit stop. Although they will be taking a shorter pit stop at the end of the race, or near the end of the race. So maybe not so far, but he could get near the podium if he's very lucky.
Well,
and with the way Corey did pull out that lead over Lewis, we haven't seen anyone be able to do that to him without Lewis having made a mistake yet. So it does indicate that he may have been saving petrol.
You just saw it on your screen there too. Corey Ott setting another 17 laps. So realising that potentially his counterparts behind him may not have to stop again, or some of them may not have to stop again, he is putting the pressure on again. Yeah, we just had a local yellow, and I just couldn't see who it was. I know we've just recently lost Luke.
It was Brendan Ross.
So Brendan Ross was one of the ones that did look like a Ferrari that went off ahead. Just a local yellow. So we have gone caution free since about lap 10. So we've got a decent amount of running in since the last caution. But that being said, there's still quite a long way to go. 26, nearly 27 minutes. As Ott pumps in the fastest lap of the race, which was a 17.362 on the last lap around, the last tour of this circuit. Some considerable distance off the fastest times that we'd seen across the practice weekend, which we hadn't even got close to. In actual fact, Lewis Wedding was the man that holds the record lap for during all forms of practice across the race weekend, which was an astonishing 16.4, 1 minute 16.4. We didn't even get close to that in qualifying, so I'm not sure how he pulled that out of the bag a couple of days ago, but he sure did.
He may have done it in another car. He was trying a few out just for fun.
Well, it says here Lamborghini Huracan GT3, so it's the one he's in.
I'll pay that then.
We'll pay that.
Lewis's best lap during the race has been a 1:18.0, so he's a long way off Corey's pace, but again, very likely he's been saving petrol.
And as you look at Lewis Wedding here, you'll see that gap from him to the leader, Corey Ott, is nearing 13 seconds, and that's kind of a benchmark that it's been at most of the night, apart from a few mistakes that Corey may have made, Lewis has not been able to bridge that gap or even make inroads into that gap. And maybe just being consistently in the 18s is what he's going for. Maybe just maybe he's just found it, as we were talking before. If he's definitely going to run this on fuel, maybe he just needed to find a pace that was comfortable for him, that he knew he could make this work. He's a very clever racer, Lewis, and he wouldn't be doing it unnecessarily. There will be a reason behind why he's only doing 18s.
We'll hope that he's remembered to change his tyres, unlike he did during the V8 Supercars race.
Yeah, let's not remind ourselves or him of that. That was a rather embarrassing gaffe on his behalf to have to stop again to change tyres, because he didn't organise to change the tyres and did the fuel only, and ultimately would have cost him a race win or a shot at a race win on Thursday night's Supercar Series.
Hobson making the exact same mistake.
And yeah, and very, very strange that two people make exactly the same mistake, but that's racing. Well, here's Turra sitting in fourth, and all on his own sim. Got nobody to race, and just motoring along nicely. He's probably looking for a safety car to catch back up to the guys ahead, because they've completely checked out.
Angle will be very disappointed at how his race has gone. He's down in 14th position with over 15 seconds in front and well over 40 seconds behind him. So
I'm just watching
not the result he's looking for.
We're just watching Brock Harvey here. He is in 5th place, and if I'm not mistaken, he is the lead the lead Pro B runner. As you remember, there's Pro A, Pro B, and Pro Am, and just getting a little bit tail happy on some of the corners. But they're taking turn 8 flat.
Got Voda in the pit.
So Voda in the pits.
Leaders have just second and third have just gone past the pit lane to lap him.
We flick through the field here. We continue our search down the field to see where everybody's up to. Here's Baker. Again, another Mercedes all on his own in 6th. Another one of the Pro B runners. Just quietly going about his business. The quiet achiever, they call this man. Doesn't say very much. Lets his driving do the talking. He's Mr. Consistent. And currently second in the point standings by virtue of a 5th place at Bathurst and a 2nd place, a well-deserved 2nd place, at Imola last round.
Very good fight here in Jamie towards the end, with Jamie desperately trying to make it to the finish line on petrol.
And Baker pressured him late, and Jamie just hung on, so Jamie will be watching the stream here and hoping that he doesn't have too much of his lead eaten away. But if anybody's going to eat into the lead, it's going to be Baker, because he's the man that's in the best points paying position to go to the top of the standings at the moment. Brock Harvey just ahead of him will probably close in as well. Heath Dixon's the other man that can make a move, and he's currently down in 12th place, not having the best of drives today. And we're just watching, there's a little bit of a, I wouldn't say it's a freight train, but it's going to become a freight train in not much longer if these guys get themselves a bit closer. We've got Phil Boak here in 7th, followed by Stairs in 8th, Matt Schwass is 9th, Brenton Foley 10th, and Rob Dunt in 11th, and then Heath Dixon in 12th. So there's a bunch of cars separated by about 7 or 8 or 9 seconds on track, and they could all converge very, very quickly if one of these guys was to make a mistake or to start slowing up the pack. With just under 22 minutes to go, there is still plenty of time for this race to unfold. As Brenton Foley got the lights on there, I'm not sure what that's in regards to. The gentleman ahead of him is Matt Schwass, and that is for position, so he shouldn't have the headlights on. There shouldn't be a need, but just signalling that he's there. And for all you Formula One lovers, the race in Baku has gotten underway. I'm sure our Formula One savvy commentator Bagsy will give us a bit of an update as to what's going on, because I'm sure you're all fixated on this right now.
I've got the Formula One paused on the television at the moment, so if we can skip that, that'd be great.
You skip that.
Yeah,
you don't want any spoilers.
I also will not be giving any updates because I've also done the same thing. So I'm refraining from Formula One talk and focusing on the excellent race that will hopefully be unfolding in the next 20 minutes here, because we don't know if the front runners can make it on a fuel. Is Wedding going to be able to pull off a strategy masterstroke and make it?
Well, we're just watching Brenton Foley give Schwartz an absolute run for his money through turn 8. He was right under the rear wing, Ferrari on Ferrari, Matt Schwass defends to the inside, gives room to Foley on the outside, but Foley can't make it stick and he has to fall in behind. So had a very good run on him through turn number from 7 all the way down to 8, and really needed to send it up the inside, but unfortunately elected for the outside.
We've just had Corey.
Oh, there's a... Matt Schwass has just been hit in the rear by Brenton Foley, just braking a little bit too late. No malicious damage done. Foley's pushing very, very hard here. He wants that 9th place, and going to do anything to get it by the looks of it at this rate.
Definitely nothing major in that one, though. We've just had Corey lap photo, who's done an excellent job getting out of the way, so...
Oh, we're just seeing also Brenton Foley just tagging the wall there on the exit at turn 4 as well. So a little bit scrappy, and that's allowing Rob Dunt to get under the rear wing of that Ferrari as well. So we've got 3 Ferraris in a row here, Schwass, Foley and Dunt, and now Rob Dunt is trying to get close to Brenton Foley and see if he can get... He's got a little bit of a slipstream here. Now this is what happened to Schwass, and Schwass defended it very, very well. But Dunt just backs off a little bit. I think he's not close enough to have a go down here into the Decaturville hairpin. Oh, yes, he is, actually. He's gone for the inside. The door was left wide open. Foley left in the room, but couldn't take advantage. But that was a dive from a long way back. And Dunt now just have to settle into 11th place and have another go at another point in time.
Wedding has brought the gap to Corey down back into the 10-second range.
And speaking of bringing gaps down, we've got Stairs is closing in on Philip Boak. So the gap to Phil Boak was about 1.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now less than a second. Stairs potentially one of the runners that can make it on one stop. Looking for the inside and the outside. Boak goes a little bit defensive. And we just there's a looks like that's
like a
damaged Ferrari there as it gets out of the way. Good driving.
The big lock up from the Ferrari into the previous corner.
And Stairs continues to push here. Up to 8th, looking for Phil Boak in 7th. We rejoin the battles at the front. Aaron Thomas has dropped off the back of Lewis Wedding here, so Lewis has now decided the time is right to try and make a move. The gap, as you rightly pointed out, is just down to about 11 seconds now. So Lewis has got the headlights on. The last lap around was 1:17.4 for Lewis Wedding, and the last lap around for Corey Ott was an 18.7. So Ott having a bit of a scruffy lap. But Wedding is now decided the time is right to push and see if he can put the pressure on Corey.
Makes you wonder if Wedding has decided that Ott does have fuel to the end, and so that he needs to push now, because that makes it he's improved his best lap time significantly by 6/10 from what it was just a few laps ago. So it may be that Wedding's decided, I need to get the hammer down because I need to make this pass on track. I'm not going to be able to rely on Ott having to come into the pits.
Certainly not. Well, Lewis Wedding now through the last turn. The next man that he needs to pass, which is lap traffic, is Heath Dixon in the Bentley Continental, and just ahead of him is Rob. The next man up is Rob Dunt. So a little bit of traffic for Lewis.
Definitely not having a good day here, and he's just got a little bit sideways coming out of the centre chicane.
And gets out of the way. So that's sensible driving. He knew that there was no point fighting, and perhaps this is maybe what caused Corey to have a scruffy lap on the previous tour. He's back into the 17s now, Corey Ott. But maybe just catching the traffic at the wrong spot maybe is what caused him to have that lap, because the gap's just stabilised a little bit now. Although Lewis is still trying to eat into it.
Corey, I think, has to be pushing almost on qualifying laps at the moment, because I don't think he has a chance of making it on the one stop.
Looking to the timing screens as we watch Lewis Wedding go past Rob Dunt very successfully. So traffic being very kind to Lewis Wedding. Just looking at the timing screens, nobody in particular seems to be lighting it up. It's the only two guys that are going hammer and tongs out at the front of Lewis Wedding and Corey Ott. We wait to see what happens over the remaining 16 minutes plus one lap for that to shake out. Very important to note too.
Yellow flag in sector 1.
So yellow in sector 1.
We've got a Ferrari off the track. I'm not sure who that is, but they are turning around, so it looks like they're not too badly damaged. Yep,
we see that here. There's a bit of smoke as Lewis Wedding comes through. And there it is in the wall. and I suspect that probably is. Actually, I don't know who that is. It might be Brenton.
It was Brenton. It was
Foley.
Brenton Foley who was running in 12th. He was in.
Schwartz and Dunt were running in a trio of Ferraris there over ninth place, so that will be disappointing for him.
He caught the curb in turn 1, got too much curb and span around and hit the outside wall. He has done a bit of damage there, and it's dropped him down, I think, 3 positions so far. There's a bit of a gap. He won't drop any further because he's 2 laps ahead of the next car, which is Brett Limmer now. But yeah, he lost out to Dixon, Keane, and Nangle.
Well, the hometown boy Stairs has found a way past Philip Boak, and the battle's not over yet. But we didn't see it on the timing on our screens visually, but we saw it on the timing screens that Stairs had gotten past, and has now moved up into 7th.
He got him into the Kevel terrorist hairpin. That's where he got him.
Kevel, what did you say? Terrace or terrorist?
Terrace, definitely terrace.
So mincing the words there. Maybe my hearing's going on me, but it sounded like something else for a minute there. Maybe just a bit of a tongue twist.
Some in Adelaide would describe the roundabout at that corner as terroristic. It is quite scary to go through sometimes. But,
terroristic, is that a word?
I was going to say, do we need to refer to the dictionary here, gentlemen?
I'm going to say that it is, to be honest. I think I'm going to stand by that word, and if it isn't, then I'm going to make it up as a new word.
Well, while Matt goes and confirms whether that word is validity, that it is confirmed. So I think 1 to Bagsy, as Phil Boak goes a bit wide at the exit of the turn 9 hairpin and losing more time to Stairs.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I wasn't sure it was a word when I said it, to be honest. So I just doubled down on potentially being incorrect.
Well, Lewis Wedding's still making inroads into this gap. The gap is now under 10 seconds, but he's fast running out of time. He's only got 13.5 minutes left plus 1 lap to make any men's, and he's got to hope that Corey has some traffic or that he has some sort of issue if he's going to get that gap down any further. But the big question is, does Ott have to stop again?
I've got a question for you guys about that. If you were Corey right now, say he does have to pit again, and you know you have to pit again, when would you come in sooner or would you come in later?
I think you have to come in sooner. I think the sooner you have to come in, the sooner the better it is, because the longer you leave it, the further you're going to be behind, and that's simple math. He may not need, and he mainly need a splash and dash, but a splash and dash is right now is better than the pain of doing it when he's 5 seconds behind you as opposed to 10 seconds behind you.
Lewis can now see him as they come out of turn 7. I think it was.
I disagree. I think you want to wait as long as possible so you can get the laps in with low fuel, and he most likely won't change tyres for a splash and dash so close to the end. So you want the minimum amount of time standing in the pit lane and just be able to push and push and push on that low fuel load. So I think it'll be, if he has to, I think just go for the shortest amount of time in the pits, shortest amount of time standing still.
Well, the trouble is the gap is continuing to come down.
The gap's under 9 seconds, so
and it's continuing to get lower.
The sooner he comes in, if he does think he has more pace than Lewis, say Lewis wasn't saving earlier, then the better it is, surely, to get back out there.
This will be all academic though, if he can't make it, if he can make it to the end, which we're not certain of, but we don't think he can. But if he does, I mean, that's an excellent drive right there, and he has no need to come into the pits.
Well, you can see it on your screen there. Lewis Wedding had a very, very good pair of laps then. He's still doing consistently in the 17, so he's found his groove. Ott in the 17, so in the 18s again, so either traffic or mistakes. But the gap has continued to come down, but time is the enemy for Lewis Wedding here. It's the same situation we had in Imola a couple of weeks ago, time being the absolute enemy.
Just listening in on some radio chatter, and Corey Ott, it is unknown if he's going to make it on fuel. He has 9 laps of fuel left, and we have 11 minutes to go. So he will be starting to save like there is no tomorrow. He is going to become the biggest proponent for saving fossil fuels at the moment because he wants to stretch it as far as he can.
Corey, we know, is a very aggressive driver. How do we think he will go actually saving petrol?
I don't know if he's able to physically take his foot off the throttle before the corner, to be honest, but we'll see if he can manage to muster up the urge.
Well, all the battles up and down the field.
I've just heard something in front of Corey on track.
You just heard something in front. Is that somebody that's hit the wall?
I haven't seen it, but someone has definitely hit the wall, as far as I can tell.
Well, if it did hit the wall, it was going to be in that little complex of turns 4, 5, 6, and 7, because Ott's just exiting 7 at the moment.
I believe it's he's coming up to Schwass and Boak, who are having a battle. So I think there was a lock-up there.
Yeah.
Brock Harvey's in the pits, as is Tara.
So people could not make it. It looks like some people could not make it on fuel. Those who stopped slightly earlier.
I think Ott has to stop here.
This is excellent for people like Stairs and who pit a lot later. They have much more fuel and will be able to make it to the end quite easily. Wedding will hear that there's someone else in the pits and be thinking, yes, Ott has got to be coming in soon. As Ott is getting he's trying to lap some traffic here.
Yeah, Ott gets the benefit. Yeah, Ott gets the benefit of the Ferrari moving out of the way, and begins his 50th lap. That last lap around, look at it, he's in the 18s again. And Lewis, look at this, Lewis Wedding with a 17.3, so a 1 second difference in lap time that time around. And it doesn't help Lewis it doesn't help Corey that he's got traffic. But unfortunately for him, he's managing to get through it quite well.
You'll have to hope that they hold Lewis up a lot more than they held him up.
What we don't want now is a full course caution, because that will close the field up entirely. It will erase any time left on the clock, or just about all the time left on the clock for this race, and allow a 1 lap sprint to the finish. Actually, on that topic, gentlemen, is this race could it potentially finish under safety car if the safety car was to come out, or do we end up getting a 1 lap sprint to the finish?
I believe it finishes under safety car. From what I have looked at, I believe it finishes on the safety car, but we can check that.
As far as I know, it's time certain plus 1 lap.
The gap now 6.3 seconds. Corey Ott again an 18.6, and obviously had to navigate traffic on that lap as well. Look to Lewis
with a
17.8, so 0.8 of a second that time around. Mind you, he hasn't got the traffic to worry about just yet, but Lewis seems to be able to get through the traffic a little bit better, catching it at the right times.
I said last GT3 race that the disadvantage you have leading is when you hit traffic, you're the one waking them up. So when the guys behind you come through, they're more alert and they're more ready to get out of the way. So it tends not to hold up second, third, fourth, etc. up quite as badly as it will.
Interesting point to note here, gentlemen, as you look to the timing on the left-hand side here, that everybody up to 8th place has been put 1 lap down by the race leader. Matt Schwass, actually he has been put 1 lap down as well, even though he's not registering as being a lap down. He is the next man that's 1 lap down. So in actual fact, only the top 6 yet to be put a lap down.
And Boak is the next one. He's only half the front straight away from Ott. Ott is looking to put him a lap down soon too. And the next one's down the road. After that will be Stairs and Baker.
Wedding that time around to 17.5, so he continues to eat into this lead. It's now 6 seconds. Oh, and just in the background there, one of the Ferraris has whacked the wall on the centre chicane, got it all completely crossed up. We just saw it in the background pictures.
Brendan Ross.
Which is Brendan Ross. Meanwhile, Corey Ott still continues to navigate the traffic. Philip Boak on the inside of the track. As the next man will go 1 lap down to the race leader.
Corey's heart will be absolutely pounding right now, given we do suspect he has very low petrol and coming through the tyres with Lewis just chasing him down relentlessly. The gap's down to 5.5 seconds. He'll be very stressed out in that cockpit.
6 minutes remaining. Ott navigates the traffic. Let's see what lap time he produces this time around. coming through 13 and now into turn 14. The gap just seems to stabilise, just stabilising a little bit there, just a little wiggle on the curb on the exit. And that lap time around, he sets an 18.3. Wedding now on the main straight, he can see him ahead. Wedding sets a 17.8, so he's still doing better lap times. That one not as good as the times he's been pulling, but he's still pushing very, very hard, Lewis, Wedding.
We've been very lucky to avoid a safety car just then. Brendan Ross, who crashed in the centre.
Oh my goodness gracious me! We just see, on the helicopter cam, Phil Boak went around at turn 4 and was in the process of reversing, and Lewis Wedding just snuck through.
We've got a penalty for Brendan Ross as well.
So Brendan Ross would probably will have pitted. It looks like a drive-through penalty for
No,
pit lane, is it, or is it for corner cutting?
I believe it was a track cut. Yeah, he's been, because he had that crash at the centre chicane. He's been doing the lap without a wing and had a big off in turn 8 as well, and then again coming into the Decatable Terrace hairpin, and that gave him a track cut. So he's repairing damage and he won't be able to serve a drive-through penalty on the field the next lap round. So that's not ideal for him down there in 18th place.
Nope, some considerable distance down the order.
We've got
Lewis Wedding has just drifted it through turn 13. He's in the pit lane, and that'll put pay dirt to any hope of him catching Corey Ott. That is a horrible, horrible mistake, and in actual fact, letting some of the cars through that he's already lapped, and just, I wouldn't say it's an unsafe rejoin, but he's retained second place, but that surely gifts the race to Corey Ott. There's no way in hell that Lewis Wedding, barring a mistake from Corey Ott, is going to be able to catch up now. That was pushing way too hard, and a horrible, horrible mistake, drifting through turn 13. You saw it on the screen, we were watching it, and very, very similar to what Phil Boak did when he had the anchors all locked up coming into that pit lane, but fortunately able to recover it.
Does Corey Ott have the fuel though? That's the big question.
Well, if he didn't have the fuel before, he's now got the opportunity to back it off and cruise to home. He's only got 3.5 minutes left, and he's got it's nearly a 10-second gap. But Corey Ott,
drive-through penalty we just saw was for speeding the pit lane, so when it rains it pours for Ross, unfortunately.
So not only serving the penalty, the drive-through penalty for breaching the track limits, but now also for breaching the speed limit.
That was being held up a lot here by the traffic that he's had to let back through.
Yeah, the traffic he had to let back through after his little incident. He's had to now to repass.
They've lapped all but the top 5.
The top 5 are the only ones not to have been lapped. Corey's going to have probably about 3 laps remaining by the virtue of the time that's on the clock. We've got 2 minutes 50 remaining, so we'll get 2 tours plus the final lap. You can probably cruise it from here. The pressure has been relaxed.
We've got Stairs closing on Baker for 4th and 5th at the moment as well.
Oh, his Voda's just gone into the wall there, and sorry to cut you off, Voda going into the wall there, so Ott doesn't have to worry about lapping another lap traffic, so just very, very fortunate the cards are falling from him now as we go to where you suggested, Baker and Stairs.
Brock Harvey's had an incident.
He's dropped right down the order, hasn't he? As we look at Stairs going the inside of Baker here, and really actually using the Ferrari there as a pick in the traffic. We don't see that very often, but Stairs has moved up to 4th, and Baker down to 5th. Baker ran a little bit wide at the turn 9 hairpin, actually got stuck behind one of the Ferraris there, and Stairs said thank you very much, used the Ferrari to his advantage and shot through on the inside, and now holds down 4th position.
Corey is driving a lot slower than you'd expect someone to be driving. He's losing time hand over fist. He is saving fuel to the max. Who knows if he's going to make it. The time has dropped. The gap has dropped 2 seconds. Yep.
Well, it's a minute 20 that lap around. So, and the problem for Corey is it's time certain plus 1 lap. So he's actually going to have to do 2 more laps and then a third. So he'll be trying to extend these laps as much as possible, but he won't be able to do it. He'll have to do he's got 2.5 laps remaining is what we estimate it'll be, because by the time he crosses the end of the second lap, he'll still have some time on the clock.
I do not think he's going to make it. I think he may be going to fall, maybe even just the last sector short on fuel, unless he can really baby this around, because I heard the radio call on lap 50 that he had 9 laps left. So this will be interesting to say the least.
There'll be a lot of lift and coast going on He comes down to turn 9 hairpin.
That gap is just over 7 seconds.
It's being eaten
Well,
into. It's being eroded very, very quickly again.
And they'll have the next lap +1 after that as well. So
Yeah.
he'll be.
It's not fallen well for Corey Ott this time round, unfortunately.
No, well, he's coming down to the hairpin here. Round he goes.
Gap. It's
He's
down
going
to
to-
6.5 seconds.
He's going to cross the line, and this is the problem. He's going to cross the line, and it's got 15 seconds left on the clock, which means he has to do this.
1:21.8.
He has to do this lap plus one more because the time certain finish is time certain plus one lap. As
Wedding
watch
was, Wedding was 5 seconds faster on that lap. Ott is just fuel saving to the max.
well, the
And
clock
so
has gone
time
zeros.
expired.
The clock has gone zeros, so this lap plus one more for the race leader, but who is going to win?
5.5 second gap. I put all my money on this.
Well, Ott needs a slipstream. He needs to find some way of saving fuel because he can't do it all with his right foot. Baker, the man ahead of him, on track, might be able to provide a bit of a slipstream, but Baker's getting off the racing line here to let the race leader through. And
I
Ott will
believe
be-
Ott is out of fuel. Ott's engine
the gap
gone
is coming
quiet.
down. The gap is coming down.
That is Corey Ott done.
The gap is coming
I-
down. Is he?
I think. Never mind.
What's
it's back
happened
on.
here?
I think he may have just entirely
Put the
turned
clutch
off the
in.
engine going,
Or put the clutch in.
or put the clutch in because his engine went dead quiet there.
Give us a heart attack. There's Lewis Wedding just in the back of shot, so you could see as he comes. There he is. That pink Lamborghini is going to be monstering Corey Ott for one lap. So we thought he'd thrown it. We thought he'd thrown the race away by his mistake, Lewis Wedding, but he somehow managed to recover it by virtue of Ott having to fuel save. Ott that time around a 1:22. This is the final lap, and it's going to be a thrilling finish. Ott's been trying to fuel save, but he's holding on to this gap. Can he hold it on to the finish? Has he got enough fuel?
If I was Corey, I would have come in there just to make sure I get the points.
Well, the time is now down. It's visual. It's under a second. So Ott is absolutely driving in his mirrors now. He's going to have to go super, super defensive into the next few turns, and there's still plenty of opportunity for Lewis to pass. He's got a 1 second advantage. Oh, it's very, very scruffy across the exit curb of turn 7. Lewis will smell it. He can smell that exhaust.
Lewis
And
is
he's
still
gone.
driving well.
Ott's gone. I
He's
think
out of
Ott's
the
gone
way.
out of fuel. So Lewis Wedding has gone through. Ott's trying to pick up a slipstream, but that is horrible luck for Corey Ott. We didn't think that Lewis was going to do it after he threw it away at the hairpin a couple of laps ago, but he's gotten through, and would you believe it, a stroke of luck, or lightning has struck, and it's going to deliver Lewis Wedding a race victory with a single stop strategy. And here he comes through the last couple of turns.
Corey Ott has just run out of fuel.
So Ott's run out of fuel. Now this is going to be interesting. Can actually Ott make it to the line? He's got quite a margin on Aaron Thomas, but nevertheless, here is your race victor on debut in the series, Lewis Wedding. As we look back to Corey Ott, who's crawling along. Is he going to be able to make it?
Massive credit to Lewis there.
Oh, and he's going to be a mobile chicane because one of the Mercedes cars going past, and
He's
And
been
one of the-
given a bump.
he's been given a bump there from one of the Ferraris. I'm not sure how legal that is, but probably wasn't expecting that to be a bump as well. Now, this is
This is highly irregular.
that's
to
highly
be honest.
irregular. He's pushed him onto the main straight. Now, who was that? Which one of the Ferraris was that?
I believe it might have been Ross.
Because Aaron Thomas is coming around the
Aaron
last
Thomas.
turn now, and what's going to happen here is Ott can make it to the line, or is Aaron Thomas going to take this second place away from Ott? No, he's got second place, Aaron Thomas.
Also, Stairs is coming up too, so Stairs has a chance.
Ott's
if
not going to
Ott
be able to
doesn't
make it
across
to the line. Can
Oh,
Ott
no,
make it to the
Ott-
line? Is he?
He's so close.
He's so
Does he
close.
make-
He is.
I
He's
think
touched
he's
the
made
line.
it.
He's touched the line. So
He hasn't been classified. Stairs is going to come in.
Has
and
he been
take
classified?
A highly unlikely podium. He hasn't.
So
He's not been
Stairs goes
classified.
to third.
Stairs
No.
has taken third.
So Stairs has come up for third. So Corey Ott is stranded on the line here. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. And one of the Mercedes has given him a nudge across the line. So he's finished fourth. Now it'll be interesting to see whether or not that's detected later as being legal or not. We will wait to
don't
speak to the
think-
race director about that.
I don't think he could have lost another position. Although I think Tara is still in the lead lap.
Tara is
Or is
no.
Tara
Tara's a
fifth
lap.
in
No,
the
Tara's a lap down. Tara has.
In that case, the lowest Corey Ott could have gotten is fourth, so that will be fine.
Well-
the last car on the lead lap, so Ott will be classified as fourth. But wow, what an end to that race. Corey Ott, if he just saved that little bit more, he would have been able to make it.
I'm going to put my hand up now and say I'm sorry to Lewis Wedding. I doubted him that he'd be able to do it after he spun it quite badly at that turn 13, a couple of laps from home, but to his credit, he managed to recover it, although fortunately the cards fell his way with Corey being short on fuel. But he is the race winner. There he is, that pink Lamborghini.
Absolutely, just great thinking under the safety car to decide to save the petrol.
He drove a perfect race, didn't he?
He gave Corey that lead before the stop, and it paid off.
We called it early. We said, was he doing 18s deliberately because he knew that was going to get him to the line on a one-stop strategy, and it turned out to be the right strategy. So 20 points for Lewis Wedding on debut here in the AMS Australia GT3 series. We'll get a points update for you very, very soon. But just to run through the top 10, Lewis Wedding, followed by Aaron Thomas, followed by Stairs. A good result for him from his appalling result at Imola a couple of weeks ago. Corey Ott still out on the circuit, classified 4th. Greg Tara finishes 5th. He was the first of the runners, 1 lap down. Matt Schwass in the Ferrari was finishing 6th. Greg Nangle 7th, recovered after a horrible spate of penalties. Brock Harvey managed to finish 8th in the Aston Martin. Bacon 9th. And rounding out your top 10 on debut, Rob Dunt in the Ferrari.
We've had Stairs join us here in the commentary box, and
how you going, guys?
that was we'll talk to him first. We also have Wedding here to talk to as well. But Stairs, you went with the same strategy as the eventual race winner in Wedding, and hit a lot later than everyone else, and ended up getting you a 3rd position and a podium by literally
2/10 of a
millimeters.
second. Yeah.
Literally millimeters, because
I still can't believe it.
you had a mistake earlier in the race into the Decathlon Terrace hairpin where you went a bit deep, but just amazing that for Ott to run out and be millimeters from the line and being classified. It must have been a very sweet moment coming across the line there.
Oh, it was just, I was cheering and whooping like I haven't done before in a sim race for some time. So, I mean, obviously Ott was a lot faster all week, but all night. But and he did deserve a podium, but I guess to finish first, or third indeed, first you must finish, as the old saying goes. But that turn 9 hairpin was my sort of white whale throughout the night. It was the only real overtaking opportunity for a lot of the night, but it was just so, if you get it slightly wrong in the braking there, you go off, and it's happened to me several times, and it was pretty costly at the start, so I was always in recovery mode from then on. And
we did see one incident you had there, I think behind Nangle, where you followed him wide. It might have been Tara. You followed him wide at turn 9 and went into the wall. Was there any damage from that?
It said there was damage, but the car was still pretty drivable. I turned it off so that I didn't have to sit in the pit lane while it repaired. But I brushed the wall at turn 8 the odd time, and I did have another issue at turn 9, but it didn't seem to affect my pace too much. So happy with third. That was the best possible today, even with all my issues, I think.
Congratulations on third, mate.
Cheers. Also, take issue with 5th being considered a terrible result last week, Nether. But anyway,
was it 5th? Was it 5th? It said something kind of different on my screen over here, so I do apologise if it was that. Where am I looking? Oh, it does say 5th. You did have a fair whack of penalty zone. Had to stop very, very late in the race, which sent you down the order a bit. So I will. I will rescind my previous comment.
You're always forgetting, but yeah, I knew with the safety cars early on in the race that one stop was going to be on the cards. So obviously Lewis thought the same, and obviously it worked out.
Speaking of Lewis, we've got Lewis here as well to chat with us. What can we say except for a masterful performance from you? I think there was only the one hiccup where you lost it into the pit wall, David Coulthard like. But you managed to recover and get Corey right at the end. Did you suspect from very early on that you'd be able to just that you had to save the fuel early to make it work at the end, or did you sort of decide later on when you saw Corey pit?
No, that was my plan. Obviously, I knew once it was 80 minutes, I'd done fuel running and did calculations. If there wasn't any safety cars, I could have still one stopped. So I would have been a bit slower, but if there was one safety car, I knew that I'd be in pretty good shape. But because there was three, it sort of made it good in some ways, but bad in others. In that it made the other faster, or guys that were going to push the whole way, I was going to make them obviously get really close to that threshold where they could one stop. So I saved, I think for the first of green lap running anyway, I saved for the first, I think 12 laps. I was lifting and coasting and driving at really 20%. And that gave me an extra 5 laps or 6 laps or something over Corey and Aaron and stuff. And I was able to quickly guesstimate how much fuel I'd need to the end. Knew I had enough, and then just pushed obviously from about 10 laps before my first pit stop to the end of the race. And obviously the only mistake I made was obviously that one you pointed out, doing a DC. I just clipped the curb with that little kink, and it just sent me around. And I gathered towards the end that Corey was fuel saving because we had pretty similar pace when we were both pushing, and then it started to come down in chunks. And then obviously even after, I flicked up the anti-lock brakes on because obviously they have them in real life, so I was like, all right, why not? I need to push here. And he obviously pushed too much and ran out of fuel.
Yeah, it was. He ran out of fuel just in the last sector as well.
I couldn't believe my eyes.
We predicted earlier that it might have happened, and then it happened right in front of us. We were shocked, to be honest. But it was, certainly you would have felt quite validated as you came in. But it was quite close between you two all race. Between the two of you, your best lap times were only 0.03 of a second apart. Set at different points in the race, obviously, but still, it was quite good to watch.
Yeah, I think what he said on in green lap running in like the 5th or 6th lap of the race, I was like, well, geez, that's pretty handy speed, and he kept pushing, but obviously as the fuel come down, me and Aaron sort of battled a bit, but we sort of kept a similar speed, and I knew as long as I didn't let the gap sort of blow out too much, that I was going to be in with a really good shot. And obviously when I decided to go and start pushing, it was the right moment, and it was obviously me and Aaron had a bit of fun out there, and just got it home by the sector.
Well, the man who you overtook on the last lap is in here, Corey Ott, and Corey, one word, fuel. What happened?
Every race that I've done in the past fortnight has went down to either me stupidly doing a mistake in the pit stop, or spinning it out on the track, or just not being too aggressive. And I think that I just had a little word to myself, and Super Cup, whereas Super Cup at Thursday night, because I think every corner that you're going to pass, you're going to see people passing, I'm going to send it, because I think I am way overdue for a win, and I'm pissed at myself tonight. I should have started saving after the pit stop, but I didn't. I kept pushing, and just too much guesswork, and that's where it put me. Not on the podium, no recognition of pole, anything. So, no positives to take out of tonight. Just pissed at myself, and that's it.
The only
Corey,
positive.
I think you did an amazing job to get the car as close to the finish as you actually did, because by everything I'd worked out during the week, when I'd done a few laps during practice, it didn't look possible from all my calculations that you could have made that anywhere near the end. So well done on getting as far as you did, and commiserations for not quite making it.
And your pace is something to be proud of too, mate. Don't discount it we heard it here first, listeners. He's going to be looking forward to Thursday night's Super Series in the Porsches, which is going to be up at Winton. So that's May the 3rd. That will be brought to you by myself and Stairs on broadcast. And following next Sunday, we're going to have some Formula 3 Championship action from Brands Hatch. So that is all for us for tonight. I'm sure there's plenty of guys in here that are keen to run along and see what's going on in the land of Formula 1. So Bagsy, Matt, thank you very much for your services this evening. It's been a pleasure. And
We're back again, mate.
And as always, my name's it's not Stairs, because Stairs is in here, because I've been watching too many of his streams. My name is Nether, and as always, until next time, please drive safely.